Good morning, everyone. LightningESL.com. My job diaries. National Service Manager. Big title, eh? When you say the expression National Service Manager, it means you're in charge of a country for service of a product or service. And it's a big title, isn't it? Big responsibility. But to me, it was a major challenge. And you're saying to yourself, how'd you get that job? How'd you get that job? Who do you know? What happened? What happened? I didn't know anybody. Basically, this happened back in the 1990s, late 1990s, and I was laid off from a company, a short job, whatever, and I was looking for something not as a technician, more like an upper management level skill. I come from food service background as well as working in many different things. So obviously you can tell I wanted to do something above that, increase my knowledge, increase my ability, things like that. And of course I love to travel, as you can tell in my other type of jobs I had in the past. So this particular opening came along by a chance. Yeah. In those days, of course, there was no internet as such. There was no cell phones as such like we have now here in 2023. So in those days, we had newspapers. Yeah. And there was no Indeed.ca. There was no this, no that. So basically, I was looking through the ads, the classified ads in the Toronto Star newspaper here in Toronto. And I saw this tiny little ad. It was 2 lines. That's all it said. Company, worldwide manufacturer, looking for national service manager. That's it. Didn't say what the product was. Didn't say where they're located. Didn't say anything else. Just looking for a national service manager. So I said to myself, well, I have a recent resume. Let's send it out and hope for the best. That's exactly what happened. I sent out a cover letter, sent out my resume, a recent resume, like up to date. Sent it away to a box number, a postal box number, not an actual address. Yeah, a postal box number. I sent it away, let's say, I think on a Friday, in the mailbox, just like it sounds. And usually it takes, if it's Friday here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, they pick up the mail a certain time during the daytime and maybe weekends. Anyway, I figured I'll wait and see what happens. And nothing to lose. It cost me a stamp. That's it. So I sent it away, like I said, on a Friday. Come Thursday, I got a phone call. This is so-and-so. Would you be interested in coming for an interview for this position as National Service Manager? I still didn't know what the company manufactures, didn't know the company name. I knew nothing, literally nothing. And I said to myself again, what have I got to lose? Let's go to the interview and hope for the best. Now, of course, you're saying to yourself, how can you do such things? You're unprepared. Well, partially yes, partially no. A proper way of looking at an interview, the title, remember, was National Service Manager. So you're in charge of service, probably for the country. Yeah, because it says national. Didn't say provincial, it said national. All right, so I started going to a library on Saturday of that week, and I handed in my resume up to the mail on Friday. I looked up different jobs under National Service Manager. What kind of responsibilities? What type of salary is roughly the average range for that type of position? Yeah. I know they manufactured a product. I don't know where. I didn't know what the product was. It could be used in the food industry, heavy industry, car industry. I had no idea. No idea. But again, I did research before I went for the interview. Now, I was amazed, obviously, because I sent it on Friday, and I got a phone call that following week on a Thursday for an interview. That fast. I couldn't believe it. So right away in your mind comes, this is a scam, this is make-believe, it's all false, do not go. And I said to myself, what have I got to lose? Nothing. So the interview itself was downtown Toronto at Yonge Street and Carlton, near a stadium called Maple Leaf Gardens. There's a hotel. So I went to this location, all dressed up in a suit with my extra copies of my resume. And apparently my interview was done in one of the suites or hotel suites in the hotel. So I knocked on the door, and a man opened the door, and I said, I'm Mr. Little for the interview for National Service Manager. In the distance, I could see 3 men. And also in the distance, I saw a coffee, juice, hot chocolate, donuts, biscuits, muffins, all kinds of stuff. So I sat down, and they introduced themselves. I had the worldwide president, the worldwide parts manager, worldwide service manager, 3 people standing in front of me. A long table. I was at the other end. It was me versus three people staring at me, ready to answer questions. They had notepads, pens, and so on, ready to ask me questions. So they talked about the product. This particular product was a combination steam oven used in hotels, nursing homes, used in education centers throughout the world. They're in 140 countries around the world. Yeah, big system going on. And my job was national service manager if I got the job. And they're asking questions about my resume, my background, what's my goals, what's my hopes and dreams in the company, how do you like traveling, how do you like working in an emergency situation, dealing with people, all kinds of regular interview questions. The interview itself took about 40 minutes because I had three people ask me questions left, right. They're making notes, and so on. And at the end of about 40 minutes of talking, the worldwide president of the company said, Mr. Little, when can you start? I said to myself, I'm not God's gift, sorry. I'm not God's gift. I'm not, because I was kind of surprised. They asked me the same day as the interview, bang, when can you start? I said, well, I'm very flattered. And, I asked them again, I know might seem bad, why did you pick me? And the same person said, Brian, you're the most honest person we've met here in Toronto looking for this position. I go, really? I was really flattered. And they said, well, we've been here for 2 weeks now, seeing interviewing, and so on. Very qualified people, and good this way, bad that way, and so on. And you're the first person that we really, all three of us, like instant connection. I was very flattered. So again, he went on to say, Mr. Little, what type of salary are you looking for? And I said, well, I knew in my mind by doing research before what type of salary for a national service manager usually asks for, like a range. And in those days, I said to myself, well, national service manager in those days, you're talking like late 1990s, their salary would be between, let's say, I don't know, $75,000 a year and $150,000 a year. Yeah, it's quite a range. And because there's a lot of responsibility, you have to do a lot of traveling. You're on call, in a sense, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah. So I said to myself, well, I'm learning, right? I made a bid, in a sense. I'll make a range. I told the people I would accept, let's say, $85,000 a year. Remember, everyone, the job also included a lot of traveling. This particular company was based out of Germany. So they also told me in an interview, I'd be going to Germany a lot. I'd be traveling around Europe as well as across Canada. And I said to myself, this is great. I get to be a tourist, in a sense, around my own country. Thank you very much. So I basically told them that $85,000 a year. And they asked me, well, how soon can you start? How soon can you sign the contract? Well, I told them this was I believe, a Thursday. I had a phone call for Thursday for the interview. This was like a Monday. I told them I'd get back to them on a Wednesday. Yeah. So I had 2 days or 3 days to think about this and probably sign the contract and go on from there. So this interview was on Monday. On Tuesday, I saw a friend of mine has a lawyer, employment lawyer. I showed him the contract. And he said, Brian, everything's fine in the contract except the salary. Brian, you're giving me an idea of giving you $85,000 or $80,000 a year. It's much lower than the standard average of a national service manager makes at that time. I said, I know. I'm getting a company car. I get to travel around Europe as well as Canada a lot. To me, that's a huge bonus. It's not just the money in my pocket. It's traveling, people, training, and so on. And he said, well, contract is totally legal, totally fine. Accept it. So I said to myself and my wife, yes. I told the company right away. And they said to me, okay, Brian, that's great. I'll see you the following Monday. Okay. So they opened up an office in the Weston Road and Highway 7 area here in Toronto. As being a national service manager, I'm going there totally blank. Totally, I don't know what the product is. I know nothing. I knew nothing. So when I walked in there, this was a company called Rational, Rational, Canada. Brand new office, brand new everything. They make commercial ovens. Yeah, steam ovens. Used in hospitals, nursing homes, hotels across the planet. But I'm going there totally blank. There's no manual how to run a service manager position, how to do this. But I told you previously in my other job diaries, I've worked as a service technician and service manager before. So exact same principle, but a larger scale. And the main reason they hired not just me is because they were handling customers throughout Canada, but there was nobody in charge of service, service maintenance, service training, documentation, etc. There isn't. So they wanted somebody in charge to get it under control. Because many times a customer would call anywhere in this country, in Canada, please service my equipment. And they would call the local person to come over and try to fix it. But 9 times out of 10, this local person had never ever worked on the machine, ever. They wanted somebody to be properly trained under their standards, which were very, very high. So I realized this, and I had to learn, where are all the equipment? Where are they? I had no history of this equipment in Canada. And they gave me roughly 6 months of probation. Yeah, 6 months. So it was a long time to learn, like a huge learning curve. I had to set up everything from scratch. So in the office, I had my own room. I needed all the information I could gather. I had 6 months. So you might say to yourself, 6 months is a long time, but it can go fast. When you're upper level position of management, something like this is a lot of detail involved, a lot. And you're taking care of customers throughout the country. You have bad debts, owed money to other customers, and so on. There's a lot involved, a lot involved. Documentation, service manuals, training of people, training of sales managers, you name it. There's a lot involved. So I set up the office as such, and they wanted me to go to Germany like the following week, just like that. Pack a bag. They said, Brian, you're going to Germany. Just like that. How long? You're going for 3 weeks training. Their idea was to train me on the machines in the factory floor where the products are built. Yeah. As a worker on the assembly line. And of course, I love to travel. I love being on a plane. It's my favorite thing. So when I went there the first time to Germany location near Landsberg, which is near Munich, Germany, of course, I felt nervous. And who are these people? What am I doing here? Da, da, da. But within the first few days of so-called assimilation and terror, I guess you could say, everything settled down. I realized my position. I realized what I could do at my discretion. So I was able to talk to all the mechanics, all the engineers, everyone in the company I could talk to as much as I want, in the sense that I need this, 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 this. And I had a basically overall blanket. Brian, whatever you want, you're welcome to take. Yeah. Take it back to the country with you, or we'll send it to you to your office in Canada, whatever I want. So they had filing cabinets, like 50 in a row, every single machine they built since the day the company started. Because back in Canada, we had customers who had these machines 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Yeah. And I had to do a full library of equipment cataloging. Yeah. So I told them I want this, and so on. And they sent it back to Canada. And while I was there, I was doing training, like I said. I was in the assembly line wearing a full outfit and so on, building these machines. Their training was fabulous. They took the wiring harness of these machines and so on. All you had to understand is, if you understand how to read, all right? If you understand colors, basic colors, whatever you see in these massive pictures, put into scale, put on the machine. Fabulous training, fabulous people. So I could tell right away I was in good hands, excellent hands. And at nighttime, of course, they had a pub and beer and so on, and celebrations and so on. And I was there for 3 weeks of training. But I knew back home, I had to set up Canada back home. So after 3 weeks of training, I had to take all that knowledge back to Canada. Yeah. Go into my office, a complete catalog of all the parts, all the assemblies, all the wiring diagrams, and so on, everything involved. I had to find where all the customers were, so I was given a stack of invoices of outstanding bills. We owe this customer $10,000. We owe this customer $50,000. Remember, I'm going in there totally neutral. I don't know anything. I don't know anybody, and so on. But my job is to organize, analyze, and prioritize everything. This is important, this is not important, and so on. And according to all these invoices, we owed at least $50,000 to $100,000 to customers. However, the rule of thumb was very simple. If I'm going to pay you money for outstanding bill of service, prove to me why. Yeah. And many times these invoices did not have what you thought they had. They did not have a name. They didn't have a serial number of a product. They didn't have an address. It was just scribbled on. And they expected our company to pay them. I said, no. You want me to pay you for outstanding fees of service? Fine. Prove it to me. prove why it costs this, why it costs that. Because a lot of technical companies, what they do, very simply, they charge you from the phone call, use of the car or truck, distance to your location. They charge you for time in the actual field servicing your equipment and back. Yeah, it can be very, very expensive. And if the workers are not even trained on your equipment, it's a waste of time for everybody. Customers are angry. The service technician is going fiddling around trying to fix something with no background. So that's why I was hired in the first place. So overall, I was there just under 3 years simply because we didn't sell enough product. We did not sell enough product. We did trade shows, which I created trade shows for the equipment, which is a fabulous experience. Multi-million-dollar trade shows. And I was servicing equipment. I was training people, technicians, sales managers, and so on across this country. I organized all that. Plus, I'm on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I trained many, many technicians across this country. These machines were fabulous. Rational Canada machines were fabulous. Fabulous machines, incredible quality, incredible warranty, very good setup. But again, it's a business like any other. If you're not selling enough product, basically what it came down to, they couldn't afford me anymore. We went through a few management changes, of course. Not mine, of course, but other management changes and sales rep changes. But overall, not enough products being sold. So I was laid off from the job. I really regret that. I thought I was doing a great job. And as a matter of fact, when the original president of our Canada, Rational Canada, was laid off, there was like a 3-month gap before they hired the new person. So I basically ran the entire company for the country across Canada for 3 months. Yeah. Within that 3 months, the worldwide president, worldwide service manager came into Toronto to interview me in a sense that, how's it going in Toronto? How's it going in Canada? Give me some ideas. If you were the president of Canada operations, what would you do? So I talked to them for almost 3 hours in a restaurant, and they're taking notes. But I had a feeling they were going to hire somebody else who had restaurant background, restaurant sales background, equipment background. So basically, long story short, I was laid off, like I said. I wrote my own recommendation letter. They signed it. And that was the end of me in that particular company. It was the best company I ever worked for when it comes to service training. Travel, of course, was fabulous. I went across Canada like 25 times. It was an amazing job, but I knew it wouldn't last forever. Nothing ever does. But I did the best I can. I was a model. Instead of taking 6 months to create this network across the country, I did in less than 3. I was very, very organized. It's not easy. A service manager's job is not 9 to 5. It's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But you have to have a passion for people, technology, a sense of order, a sense of prioritization. That's what the job entails. It's not meant for everybody. It's not. It really isn't. At a moment's notice, you might get a call, a service call from a customer. Please help me over here. Please help me over there. Just like that. You might drive for 7 hours to a location, the whole location service industry, and it might say, help me fix this machine. It might take 10 minutes. He drove 7 hours. The question is loyalty that you're providing to that customer, because that customer has many friends in the same industry. Yeah. So if you take care of the one customer, word spreads around of loyalty, which boosts your profitability of your company, loyalty to your company, and so on. You can see what I mean. And that's what happened a lot. Sometimes I'd come back to Toronto after helping a customer or helping up a sales manager for our product. And they said, Brian, pack a bag right now. You're traveling east, let's say to Montreal or Quebec City, which is 6 hours away by car, to take care of a customer. This customer represents Quebec Restaurant Association. Yeah. So just like that, I packed a bag as soon as I got back. I came out, let's say, from Western Canada. I go home, Brian, pack a bag, you're going to Montreal. Just like that. I would use a company car, drive to Montreal, see the customer for half an hour to an hour, whatever. This happened a lot because you're in charge of the country. Not just Ontario, not just one province, one city, a country. It's a major responsibility, which I loved. I loved the challenge. Yeah, best job I ever had, bar none, best none. Because I set the bar of quality, integrity, service, efficiency, and so on, much higher than I've talked to people in different industries, much higher. Because I have a high standard of excellence. I really, really do. No such thing as saying no to a customer. It doesn't exist. A customer might be screaming, yelling at you. What's wrong with your machine? Take this machine and throw it out or kick it and so on. There's nothing against you. They're having a bad day. Something happened to the machine they were not taken care of. And I've seen this so many times in the food service business, so many times. The actual working, taking care of the equipment is terrible in the sense that his attitude is terrible. He's filthy. He's talking trash talk, 4-letter words, swearing, and so on. In other words, he's not a person to deal with. He's not. There's some other agenda going on in their brain. They don't want to talk to you like a normal customer, all right? Doesn't matter if the machine is $10,000 or $100,000. You treat the customer the same way because they put a lot of investment and time in that machine. That's right. It doesn't matter if it's a coffee, juice, hot chocolate machine. It doesn't matter. You still treat the customer like a diamond. Yeah. The diamond, you might say, it's the hardest thing we know so far. Very hard to break. But all it takes is one bad comment, one bad attitude shown to that customer. They don't want you anymore. Get that machine out of here. Yeah. It takes a long time to build that trust and loyalty, but it takes an instant to lose it. Remember that. If you're in the service business of any kind, treat the customer like a diamond, which is above value of gold, like a diamond. Because that one customer, for example, in a small restaurant, who bought your machine for $20,000 in a small restaurant, he trusted you, trusted the equipment. Take care of that customer because in the future, that customer tells their friends and friends and friends and friends. And that small little customer can turn into a large customer and they remember you. That's right. They remember you. And that's why it's very, very valuable to take care of them from the very, very beginning. The very first time. It's like an interview. First impressions are everything. Everything. And they can tell by your posture, your voice, your tone of voice, that is, your expression on your face, if you're serious or not, going through the motions or not, and so on. That creates loyalty, and loyalty means everything to a business. Doesn't matter what your product is. If that customer is not loyal to you, they don't trust you. And it's not easy to maintain a customer in any industry. It is not easy. But once you've got it, it's like gold and like diamonds. It is. It's very hard to break. It can last forever. This is LightningESL.com, my job diaries. Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.